Good morning. This is the Blaze World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You get more information about this show and past shows at our website, which is behind me, blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. And each week we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to welcome Erika Tyner, is it, I think, and
Yes,
Amy
yes.
Buchanan, both from Parkway Playhouse. And you beat me to it, Erika, but you can now both officially wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this. Okay, that is Amy and Erika. Anyway, I'd like to thank you because it's perfect timing in that you both, in your spare time, are working on a show, I understand. So the show is going to be next week. But before I talk about that show, if I can just kind of get a little background. I've spoken to Erika before, but Amy, in terms of your background, if I can ask, the first question I always ask is, as a child, you grew up where?
Oh, as a child, I actually grew up in Spain,
Okay.
in the Canary Islands on a little island called Tenerife. And I was a theater kid there.
Oh,
And
me
then,
too.
yeah, my
Mhm.
family always had connections in Yancey County. So we moved here, and my daughter signed up for a camp here, and we both fell in love with it. And it kind of took over our entire personalities. And we haven't left since. So we've been hanging out here for a few years. And I also enjoy being the president of the board. And
I like that
my
in your spare time, right?
my
Mhm.
spare time, yeah.
And let me ask you too. So you mentioned your daughter, but before we talk about her, when you were in Spain or elsewhere, do you remember the first were you ever in a production? First thing production you were ever involved in? Do you remember?
I think the first show I was in was Aladdin. It was like I was a gem in the Cave of Wonders.
Where was that?
It was in Spain.
Okay, because I want you to listen to this, Amy. I've shared it before with other people at Parkway, but I have an idea, and I'll even volunteer to help you with it. But I want to do a fundraiser where everybody recreates their first role. Like you mentioned the show you were in. Is there a record of that anywhere?
Oh, I'm sure. I know my mom has pictures somewhere. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Was there a video of it?
I probably don't have video of it. No.
But think about that. Wouldn't that be cool for your daughter to see, other people could see your very first role? Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, so nobody's taking me up on it, but I'll help Parkway with it. I've seen a
Yes, that
picture.
would be so
We
cool.
love
I
that.
love
It
that.
would be,
Mhm.
wouldn't it be a fun thing, and especially people don't have a record or no pictures of it, and can you imagine that there were a tree when we were a kid, there were a tree, whatever, but this would be a great, take me up on it.
Yes.
I'm
I love that
volunteering.
idea.
I'll ask, since we talked about the first role, Erika, do you remember your first role, what you ever in?
Yes, I was an orphan in Oliver at 10 years old.
Okay, now was that at Parkway?
No, this was at the Carolina Civic Center in Lumberton, North Carolina, where I grew up.
Okay, it's a,
And there is video of this.
okay.
So I did find it since we last spoke. So I do have that.
Okay, but again, we wouldn't let you show the video. You'd have to actually perform, your role as a 10-year-old.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. I had one line and I think I performed it well. So
Okay.
I could reenact that, Blaine. I
Well,
think I
think of
could.
that, but
I'm up for the challenge.
especially as a 10-year-old, they just love it. So from there, Emmy, you had never acted before you got to Parkway?
So I acted as a kid.
Oh, you did.
I was in kind of a similar program to what we have here, just a little community theater in my town. And I was an actor then, but I'm not an actor now. I leave that to my daughter
Well, so
and some rehearsals.
when you're in Spain, so was that you were performing in Spanish, I guess? It was in
No,
Spanish?
it was actually an English speaking theater. I think there were two English guys running it at the time. I mean, we had Spanish students as well.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
everybody was kind of bilingual, but yeah, it was English mostly.
So it's very cool then. So you eventually came to this country, and now the theater has bitten you again because you were saying your daughter's now involved in the theater as well.
Yeah, because when I moved here, I was 12, and I don't think there was a junior program here. And
Right.
my mom was like, "You should go down to the theater," and there was nothing for me, so I just kind of forgot about it. And then when I signed Evie up for camps, I remembered it all and she loves being here and I love being here too. So it's so fun for us to do together.
And what's cool, and I want to thank you for the role that you're now taking part at Parkway.
Yes,
Because
I do
not only-
too.
I mean, incredible when you think about it, Erica. Not only is she stage managing this particular show, but also when you're not doing that, you're also president of the board at Parkway.
Yes, I
Okay.
am.
And I imagine that just keeps you a little busy at times, doesn't it?
Makes me a little busy, but I think it's really important that people who really care are the ones doing those types of jobs. So
And we should emphasize to people so they don't get confused that you're the stage manager, but you're not the stage manager in the play. Is that correct?
right. I say I'm not the cool stage manager. I'm the busy stage manager.
Well, I guess Erica probably would have wanted you to be the other stage manager, but I guess you were busy enough doing other stuff, you know.
It's
And
true,
let's
yeah.
talk about it's funny we're talking about it, but let's talk a little bit about the role of a stage manager because people don't understand it. You know, like they understand the director, no offense to Erica, but the director does a lot of work, gets all the kudos. But the stage manager is every bit as important, if not more so, than the
Yes,
director. And so I'll put you on the spot if I can, Amy. What does a stage manager do?
Well, this is actually my first time stage managing, so I've
what
been,
what are you doing now in your first time?
well, I'm mostly looking to Erika and Mara, who is our production manager here, and she is usually the one doing all the production things and being the stage manager. So it was nice for me to be able to step into
Right.
that role and give her a little bit of a break so she could do her regular job,
Right.
which is time consuming as it is. So basically, my job is communication for the team, hanging on every word that Erika says, which is not hard because we laugh because when we're together, we just lose track of time and
Don't
she's
eat.
spitting out ideas and I'm writing them down and then I communicate it when it's the right time and keep everybody on schedule and in good
And
spirits
fed.
and fed.
Wait,
And here on time.
Yeah.
a compliment to both of you. But when you can be doing something where you lose track of time, that's you're in the right place, you know.
I say that all the time, Blaine. When time doesn't exist, you know you have found your passion.
Well, it's funny you said that. I'll just digress, but I'm trying to think of the author, but it's the passion-driven life or something to that effect. And Warren was the author, and he wrote a book, and he said the exact same thing. What you should be doing in life is what you're doing when you're not thinking of time. So that's so cool that you have that. So, and you found it like kind of in theater, and then you found it not only in theater. So how long have you been on the board?
I think this is my third year.
Okay. And so what's really cool, you've been through, I mean, all theaters going through transformations, but you've been through several transformations, you know, at Parkway. And so it's really exciting that it looks like you guys got your act together again now because you're having full schedule, you're doing lots of cool stuff. But I guess you went through, I guess, several directors and executive directors and over a couple of years. So I'm so glad you stepped forward on this.
Yes.
And now we'll go back to Erika. So Erika, in addition to directing our town, you also understand when you're not doing this, you're still involved in theater. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, I'm also a public school teacher, which I say is acting every single day. So I was a sixth grade public school teacher for 20 years. And this year I moved to our local high school, the Mountain Heritage High School, that is down the road. And so I do ninth grade English, which is English 1. And also I have a period every semester of drama.
Okay. And you said that. I find this hard to believe what you just said. So you've been doing 20 years. So you were the youngest. You started what, at 9 or was it 10 when you started
Oh,
teaching?
that's funny. Right. Well, I actually had a job in Asheville working for a nonprofit and teaching adults with disabilities drama. I did not want to be a teacher. Both my parents are educators, and I said more times than I can remember that I did not want to be a teacher. And then I started teaching drama because my degree is in drama. And fell in love with it, and it's just in the blood. And so I went back and got, an official teaching degree so that I could work in the public school system. But I do feel like I put on a character every time I open my classroom doors and start a lesson. And so I get to act every day, act and direct every single day.
Well, it's so funny you said that because in another life, I also have been a teacher most of my adult life. I was a college professor. And one of the things I loved about it was that, you kind of acting, or I contend I was acting, every day, but you didn't
Mhm.
have to memorize lines, And
Oh, right, right.
the difference was, Amy, I've acted a couple of things, but I can only have like one or two lines, and that's about it. But teaching was cool because you don't have to have lines. You can just you create them as you go.
But
So,
you improvise.
well, yeah.
It's right.
Right. So anyway, so I got the backgrounds, and so now, how did you wind up, I guess, directing Our Town, and talk about how Parkway chose that and why they chose it, and we'll kind of update it to where we are now.
Okay. So I've been directing for Parkway for about 5 years now. I try to do, if they'll allow me, a show every year. I also do the junior programs, directing for some of those shows and summer camps, and our conservatory program where we have classes for students. This winter, we were able to offer free classes. The board felt that the community really needed that, and at the time school wasn't back in session yet, and so we offered free classes for students to come to, and I think the community responded really well to that. And because of that, we have a huge, completely full children's program this summer, children's camp, all of that. But so I've been here for about 5 years. I started in when I was 10 years old, and then did it all through college, did a lot of stuff in high school. And then I took a little bit of a break to go into like my career, and I knew something was missing. And so someone found out that I was into drama and had a background in drama, and they asked me to teach a class here, and that's how I got started here. But I adore Parkway. It is such a professional but small, caring, uh uplifting theater, and I love being here. So
Now, I'm trying to recall, have you also acted in stuff at Parkway?
not at Parkway, no. I grew up acting in things and singing. I really did a lot of musicals and things like that. But I love directing more because I feel like I am acting at every single rehearsal, not just the performances. So, and I think my talent is in directing because of what we just talked about. Time doesn't exist while I'm doing it, and when I know I'm going to do a show, I become obsessed with the show. I knew I was going to do Our Town in, late summer. I think the board wanted to do something that would bring crowds in because, of course, the arts are going through a little bit of a tumultuous time right now. And so the minute I found out I was directing it, I became obsessed and watched everything I could, read every book I could about Our Town and Thornton Wilder. And so I'm happy to be directing the show. This is also a show that I studied in college, and it won a Pulitzer Prize. It was groundbreaking in so many ways. So not only am I excited about it, I'm honored to be doing
It's
Wilder's
funny you
play.
say that. I won't put you on the spot, but oftentimes Amy asks actors who are directors and directors who are actors, what do they prefer? And they'll oftentimes say what Erika said, for directing. The truth is, they don't tell you this. They don't have to memorize the lines, So as an actor, it's a little different, but the truth comes out. So talk a little bit then about this show in terms of preparing. You said something very interesting. I'll ask both of you this question, and I want your opinion whether it's a good idea or not. Did you also see movie versions of the show?
Oh, yes. When I was doing my research, I definitely saw some Broadway shows that were recorded. This actual show has been made into many movies. It was actually also made into a musical, Frank Sinatra. If you know the song Love and Marriage from
Right.
that 90s sitcom, Frank Sinatra wrote that for an Our Town movie. And so, yes, I've seen lots of things. I also went to Broadway in New York this fall to see it because there was a revival of the show, and I liked what they did. I'm doing a lot of different things, but I did like what they did. So my whole year has been immersed in Our Town
I'll
and
put
Thornton Wilder.
a trivia question. Do you know
Okay.
what Love and Marriage? Do you know what TV show it was?
Um, wasn't it Love and Marriage? Wasn't that
No,
what it was
it was
called?
a
What,
show.
don't say it. Don't say it. Give me a hint, Blaine.
Okay. Applegate was in it.
Christina
Yeah.
Applegate. Uh-huh. Love and
It
Marriage.
was in Married with Children.
Married with Children.
I grew up
Yes,
on, my
yes.
daughter grew up on that show, just loved it, but it was,
Very
anyway,
funny.
I didn't know that. Thanks for the trivia that Sinatra did it. So good or bad, I'll ask Amy, have you seen the movie? Any of the movies?
So I hadn't seen the full show. I knew about the show
Right.
just because it's so popular in
Mhm.
especially in the theater community. So I knew all about the show. I think I had maybe seen the show once, but I don't remember it. So the first that it was on my radar is when we were talking about putting it in the season, and then I immediately read the script and fell in love with it, and then found out Erica was doing it and got even more excited. And then Erica and I had our first meeting, and
It
that
was a match
that was
made
the
in
last
theater
time I
heaven.
took a break.
The question I'm wondering, guys, is this, that in terms of even your cast and whatnot, is that a good or bad idea for people to see the movie, for example, beforehand? Or I know there's, even with your high school students, you're going to be teaching. Do you want
Mhm.
them to see the movie or do you want them to hold on it?
I think in this day and age where we are constantly getting new information and, information is doubling and tripling every single day, there's no way around that. And I do like using it for research, but I always say, what would you do differently? And it's really good to understand choices. Why did the director make this choice? And with the theme and vision of what you're putting on stage, what choices would you change? And specifically with Our Town, it is so classic and has been done all over the world. I think it's the most
I've
produced
heard that, yeah.
play in the community theaters. It's been, done in a prison. It's been done in other languages. So I don't think there's any way around people not seeing it or experiencing it. But what I always push and try to do is to find our voice in it. And I think we've done that quite well with the show, and made it relevant to what's going on in our town and in this area right now.
So if I can put then back to Amy, put her on the spot again. If I can actually kind of give the Reader's Digest version for the people, Erica said everybody saw it. Trust me, there are a lot of people who never saw it, or what's even worse, guys, a lot of people don't go to theater, believe it or not. So for the people who don't know the show, Amy, you can give kind of the Reader's Digest version of what the show is all about.
Yeah, and I was going to say too, I feel kind of honored that I got to read the script before. Since then, I've watched movies and listened to the audiobook version, and I feel honored to have gotten that just version with the
Mhm.
script in my own eyes first to
Mhm.
kind of build my own vision of it. But basically, it's a play about average everyday life,
In our town.
just in our town,
Right.
in our living and in our dying and in our marrying. It's a story, it's a time capsule story about what human nature is, and then on the flip, to me, it's so much about grief and what happens after someone dies and what they leave behind and what they remember as being important.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's just so moving.
Who do you think should see the show? Like, I'll ask you two ways in terms of overall audience and then specifically an age range. Would you say there's a age range who should see the show?
Yeah, I don't think there's any upper age limit. I think
I
if
can see it then, you
anything,
mean? Okay.
if anything,
You're
yeah,
invited, Blaine.
if anything,
Thanks.
the older the better because, you would have more context towards the beginning of the 1900s than we do now. My daughter is 8 and she's super interested in seeing it, but that's because
What?
I've been, telling her little vignettes of it for months. And she's really bright and she'll enjoy it, but I think probably about that age, anybody below that age range is going to be probably bored.
Right. Maybe, but we do have quite a few things that we're doing to make it our own. But as most people know, Thornton Wilder wrote it, so there were no props.
Right.
He really was going against the grain there because he wanted people to use their own imaginations. And in 1936, that was groundbreaking. He's probably flipping over in his grave right now at all the cell phones and internet use. But because he wrote it where not having props, I wanted to emphasize another sense, and that sense is sound. So we actually have someone from high school that I taught, who's a musician, who is doing all of the sound, and he's sort of like, we've been calling him our Foley man, the Foley artist, the old timey, on the radio that would make the sounds of somebody walking down the road. So we are doing that, and we thought, do we want this backstage, or do we want the audience to be able to see what's happening? And very quickly we knew we want the audience to see this.
Right.
So if there is a child who doesn't know exactly what's going on stage, they can watch this, very talented gentleman he's got like 7 hats, ringing bells and pouring water and making wind sounds. So maybe
I think some of the grown-ups need that too.
Yeah.
Attention, attention spans are short.
Yes.
And we have it set out here right in front of the stage.
I love it.
So it's going to be super fun to, you'll just constantly be looking for what's going on.
By the way, since you mentioned this person, let's give a shout out to that person's name is.
His name is Santos Mondragon, and he is a 9th grader at Mountain Heritage High School.
Very cool, thank you for mentioning that. But that's really exciting because again, I've never seen that in a version of this particular show. So the other thing that you've done, I think is really cool, is you put together some pretty big cast, like 20 people in the cast.
Yes.
And I don't know if I have time to go through everybody, but can you talk about some of the people, and specifically, I guess we start off with the stage manager explaining who's not Amy, the non-Amy stage manager, but it's kind of a crucial person in this whole play. Is that correct? So who's the stage manager?
So the stage manager is Elisa Bryant. I think you've met her. She is an icon, theater icon around here. Also used to be the theater teacher at Mountain Heritage, where I am now. But when I first knew I was doing this, one of the choices I made was to seek out people in our community who play roles that are similar to the roles in the show. So Elisa is playing the stage manager, and we really, both her and I and Amy, see her as someone who is directing the show, and I can talk more about that later, but it's good that she is a teacher, director, actor. I also have Jonathan Polgar, who's a healthcare physician in the town, and he's playing Dr. Gibbs. The editor, Mr. Webb, is being played by Peter Bobby, and he is also legendary English teacher at the high school, also has a background in theater, as does Jonathan Polgar. Roberta Whiteside is playing you probably know her. She's a powerhouse of a singer. She's also a music teacher, a choir director, and she's playing our choir director. So that was one of my first choices, was to ask people in the community if they were interested. And it was so interesting because almost everybody said yes. And almost everybody said, and you know what? I used to do theater. It was great in this small town, knowing that people that, I have seen didn't know that they really had any experience on the stage, had been to New York and tried it out, or had done it in high school. So that's been fun to find out.
Do any of these people you mentioned, or others you haven't mentioned yet, are any of them people who have never acted before?
I know Santos has not acted, our Foley man. I don't think anybody else. Yeah, everybody else has some experience on the stage.
Jenny Martin is also in it.
Yes.
Okay, Jenny's in it too. Yeah.
Yes. Mrs. Gibbs.
And then my neighbor, who I've always tried to
come a little forward if you can. I was losing you on the mic. Yeah.
Oh, sure. I was going to say my neighbor, who is Glenn Ellington, and he's playing Constable Warren and Joe Stoddard.
Yes.
But I've been running into him and trying to convince him to come down to the theater, and he's finally here, and I can see it. I can see it igniting in everyone who hasn't been here in a while. They're getting bitten by the theater bug too. So it's
rebitten.
Yeah, rebitten.
Yes.
One of the things I'm excited about, and you were telling me off the air, the fact that a lot of these people are coming back into theater. That's pretty exciting, so I think that, see what what a perfect first show for Parkway for a season to talk about our town,
Right.
And Parkway is kind of like this, you have to get used to it. So you mentioned some of the people. You care for and mention anybody else? Anybody else who's acted in other stuff in Parkway?
Yes, Nick Toner, who was actually just recently in the Sound of Music production at
Okay,
ACT.
loved it. Yeah.
And we also have, Raven Whitley is our Emily, and she was also in Little Women. She's right now in Chicago working on a professional show, a world premiere. So she's not even here yet. She arrives on Monday, but we have a fantastic Emily understudy who you may get to see. Her name is Aster Norby, and she just graduated from high school, and I think she went to the Asheville High School. And she is pursuing a degree in acting from Western after this year. She was a gift, totally a gift.
Well, so was
And
Raven. I met through you last year, and
yes,
totally
yes,
amazing. So whatever.
yes, she's amazing. And then we have, who else have I not mentioned?
Astor will be our Emily for our dressy rehearsal that we're having. So you can always come and get two different versions of Emily if you want to see the show twice.
Yes, yes.
So anyway, so you put together the cast. Talk a little bit too, and that's why I want people in the community to see this, that they don't realize how much time and effort you put into this. And talk a little bit about that process. That it's not like Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland, let's get together and put on our show. But I understand you've been working on this for a little bit. How long have you been working on it?
Yes, well, we started working with the cast towards the middle of April. We took a week off for Easter, a week off for maybe just a week off for Easter. Yeah, spring break. And so I think about 4 weeks in total.
But Erica's been working on it for over a year.
Yes, so. yes. And we had auditions in February. So yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, but even and talk about the process, because a lot of people don't appreciate it. That so since April, but certainly throughout May, how often do you rehearse and how long are the rehearsals?
So because this is a community theater, even though we are a professional theater, we have rehearsals about 3 hours a day. I would rehearse every single night, but I like to give Friday off to people, and usually one other night during the week. So it's usually Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 6 to 9, and then a chunk of time on Saturday, and then a chunk of time on like Sunday nights. But I definitely don't want to burn anybody out. And when I direct, work so hard on the rehearsal schedule and make sure that I have someone called that can work the entire time, is in all the scenes. So I don't actually work chronologically. And sometimes that's not ideal, but it's how I do things and I like it. So that people don't get burned out. And then by the time we get to Tech Week, we're all in. And so I hope that.
I was going to explain that because I guess this is the first Tech Week officially.
Oh, yes, Amy.
But talk about, and what do they call it? Tech Week is, what do they?
Q to Q happens at the beginning of Tech Week, that first day, where we make sure all the lighting cues and sound cues are ready to go.
I'm saying that's on top of regular rehearsals. That's pretty intense, for this whole week. So the regular rehearsals and then Tech Week. So let's talk about the fact then, so you've been rehearsing now, and so Tech Week is coming up this coming week. Is that correct?
Yes, it will start Sunday.
Okay, and for the show itself, Amy, if people want to see the show, run about all the good stuff, tickets and where to get them, and where does the show run?
Yeah, the best way to get tickets is to head straight to our website, parkwayplayhouse.com. We have tickets on there for 2 weekends. So we have a Friday and a Saturday night show. Those are at 7:30. Is that right? I should know that. Let me pull up this right here. And then so the show is running from May 23rd through June 1st. And we also have 2 matinees this time, which we haven't always done, but we've heard from our community that they really enjoy having a Sunday afternoon matinee. So we wanted to make sure to give them that.
And what time are the Sunday matinees?
2:30.
2:30. And also, how long is the running time of the show?
Right now, it's about 2 hours. I like to keep my shows 2 hours or under, just because we can't sit as long as we used to be able to sit. So yeah, about 2 hours, maybe a little over 2 hours.
It's funny, as I get older, I like shorter and I like earlier. So I appreciate the fact they have the Sunday matinees because
Yes.
I prefer going to those as well. We should also encourage people. Parkway is just such a neat little area, and we always go up there early. I forget the name of the Thai restaurant, but the Thai restaurant, there's some other nice places. Great place to visit if you want to come up early or stay late afterwards.
Mhm.
After this show runs, I don't know if I can share the information, but Eric, do you have anything else on your drawing board that you're going to do?
When the show closes, I'm starting 101 Dalmatians for our youth program, and then I'll be directing for the Appalachian Playwriting Festival in the fall.
Okay. So I guess we should mention, are you looking for Dalmatians to be in the cast?
Right, right. Yes, yes. Any Dalmatians, we'll take them.
Is that it? And so, and you go back also, let's see, you're still in school, right, for another couple of weeks?
Right.
And then you go to school starting in the fall? When do you start
Yes.
school? August sometime?
The middle of August. Yeah. Yeah.
And so hopefully we can inform, but hopefully you'll also maybe be directing some there as well. So that'll be
Yes.
kind of exciting. And same question, Amy, after this show is over, do you have any other plans that coming up in theater or anything else you can
As
share?
soon as this show wraps, we're right into the next show.
It's the
I'll be
theater
here-
life.
Yeah, I'll be here
Okay.
every day
No,
for
you said,
101.
do you have roles in the next shows or are you doing anything?
I'm a behind the scenes, I'm a support person. So my favorite job here, I always say, is being a stage mom. So that's why I got involved to begin with, was just helping backstage with the junior department and helping the kids and being there with my daughter. So I'm excited to work on 101 Dalmatians.
And I should ask you, Amy, kind of a final question, but in terms of getting involved in theater, I assume Parkway's looking for or welcomes volunteers? And
Yes.
Oh, yes.
talk about that process. If somebody wants to get involved in theater, I guess start small and work their way up. But what are some of the things you look for when you're looking for volunteers?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I say like, oh, come down, come get involved at the theater. And immediately people think that we're going to cast them as Annie. They're Annie now and they get nervous. And I'm like, there are so many jobs for so many different types of people down here. I mean, we've got a whole running crew and people that work exclusively in the shop or have an interest in costumes, props. Just come and be a stage mom if you just want to help, do costume changes. We also always are looking for ushers. To help us, and at the box office and concessions. So there's stuff for everybody.
And then you get to see the show for free
I
if
was
you're
just
an
going to
usher.
say that to be an usher. Anyway, thank you guys both for getting me excited, which you always do, Erica, about upcoming shows.
I do. I get excited about what I'm doing. So yes,
You're the
thanks for
best.
saying that. I do want to mention one thing, Blaine, that I
Please.
didn't mention to you before, but if you'll see behind us, this is part of the set. We didn't want to give too much away, but we knew we were doing this in the late summertime, but then the flood happened. And there's no way that we can ignore what happened to our community. We're all still healing and still restoring areas and going through all of those things. So when the storm happened and then during the recovery, I decided, and you guys were on board, so thank you so much for that, but to bring in elements of Hurricane Helene. So my vision is that this show really is a gift to the community as part of the healing process. And the pallets that you see behind us are actually pallets that were used in the recovery time, distributing like water, food, clothes, those sorts of things. So these actually were used and we got them in January, loaded them into the theater. And the set is made out of all of these pallets.
Wow.
So that's special. And it really means a lot to everybody who comes in and sees these were actually in use. And another thing, without giving too much away, is that all of the items that our Foley man is using are coming from the debris that the hurricane left. So they're bottles, tires, that sort of thing. And at the beginning of the show, we're trying really hard to connect that for audiences. Not everybody watches your show and reads the newspaper. But once we made that decision, so many other ideas came, and it was almost like Thornton Wilder wrote this for us. There are lines about the earth and about homes. There are lines that take you right back to the flood because they actually mention flood and flooding. And it's been such a great collaboration with all of the actors who also went through the flood to share their stories. I think we've had a lot of healing by doing the show. There have been many rehearsals where everybody has broken down into tears. But I think that letting you know that and that spin on what we're doing, I think Thornton Wilder would be proud.
Yeah.
But I do want audiences to know that there's a lot of relevancy in what we're doing here for the show.
I see it in the background. And by the way, another great way people get involved, you were talking volunteering, is to work on the sets. Will you
And we
mention
always
that?
need help set building.
I was gonna
Yes.
say, will you mention that at the beginning of the show, or is it in the playbill about what you just said? You know, about
About the pallets. Yeah.
you mentioned.
I do think I think we're going to have a sort of a showcase.
A display out in the lobby with some pictures and an interview of our set designer, and just to kind of showcase what we've.
You know, it's really cool. I'm not telling you what to do, but just in terms of the, in terms of the speech beforehand, you know, that'd be good.
Right.
Hopefully you mention that because that's really is kind of cool. You know, listening to this. Anyway, you guys are also kind of cool, and I really appreciate being my guest on the Blaine's World webcast. Also, I'd like to thank my producer, Kathy DeSetti. Hopefully, we'll get to see you sometime between now and the end of the run. Lots of luck with it.
Right. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Bye.